Hello all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to start a new Stocks I Bought series in which I review the stocks that I bought and sold and compare my portfolio performance to the performance of the various indices. Now this one is for the month of September, which is coming a little late in November, and the only reason I'm doing this one is mostly for completeness sake. So let's dive right in. Taking a look at the major indices, we have the S&P 500 was up 4.22% in the month of September. The Nasdaq 100 was up 6.14%. The Dow Jones Industrial Index was up 3.4%, and our good old TSX 60 was up 3.77%. Comparing to my RSP, in which I hold these four tickers, I have VDY gained 3.32%, XAW gained 3.94%, SCHD was trailing by quite a bit at 0.9%. However, there was a recent stock split and and a lot of hype around the stock. Finally, we have VTI, which just eked out XAW, gaining 3.95%. Let's take a quick look at each one of these tickers. Starting off with VDY, we have the Vanguard FTSE Canadian Dividend Yield Index ETF. That is high dividend yield. So what do we have here? We have 0.22% MER, a little bit higher, especially when you compare to the index ETFs in the US, but in general, that's not too bad. Also, this one is a monthly pair, which usually has a little bit more cost associated with it. Current average 12-month yield is 4.43%. In its holdings, it's Canadian based, so you got it. All financials and energies at the top of the list, with the top two being the Royal Bank of Canada and Toronto Dominion Bank making up over 25%. Moving on to our second one, we have XAW, which is the iShares Core MSCI All Country World X Canada Index ETF. Essentially what it is it's an all-in-one index ETF that holds other index ETFs outside of Canada. Let's take a look at its holdings. The largest holding is the S&P 500 at 55%. We have some Asian and European stocks in an ETF XEF. We have emerging markets, some total US stock market ETFs, a little bit of mid and small caps, and a little bit of cash. Moving over to the US dollar ETFs, starting off with SCHD, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. It is quite similar to VDY, except for it is US based. It only has quarterly dividends, but it still holds good old blue chip dividend pairs and is updated once a year. They even still have the notice on their website about the 3-for-1 stock share split that I was talking about earlier. And last but certainly not least, we have VTI, or the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. And it holds 3,654 stocks. So it is by far one of the most diversified holdings in my portfolio. Far more than the S&P 500. Some people believe that the S&P 500 is much better than VTI, aka VOO is better than VTI, and sure, over the last decade or so, VOO has slightly outgained VTI, but I do like the diversification here. And when I was first starting off, if we go all the way back up to the top here, and you scroll down, when I was first starting off, fractional shares weren't really a thing, and having to spend $400 versus $200 US at the time was just too much. Not a great reason, but just kind of how I got to where I am. And again, XAW holds the S&P 500, so I don't see any problem holding VTI. Both are great. Diving back into the portfolio, let's take a look at the moves that I made. So, like most months, I did 2 general buys throughout the month. I buy my TFSA in the middle of the month and my RRSP at the end of the month. The reason I do that is because it allows me to DCA on at least a bi-weekly basis. At some point in the future, I may choose to do 2 buys in the TFSA and 2 buys in the RRSP, which would allow me to DCA on a weekly basis, but I'm not there yet. One thing to call out is I did not exit or sell any positions this month. Taking a look at the buys in the TFSA, primary stock was VFV this month. Simple reason, overweight Canadian in my TFSA like most Canadians are, so I have opened up a position in VFV and continue to increase it. I increased my PSA. This is a high interest saving accounts ETF brought to us by Purpose Investments, and I simply add a little bit of money to this every month, or I have been. 2 reasons. Reason A, build up an emergency fund, and then reason B, hold some that you can sell if there's a dip in the market. I averaged down my ETHY position, still believe in Ethereum. I think we're at the start of another bull run, so no cause for concern there. Just have to play the waiting game. HXQ I bought for the same reason as VFV. I need some more US holdings, and this one particularly, I'm underweight technology. So would have been great if we realized this in, say, 2022 before, Facebook and, all the big FANG stocks, essentially, and NVIDIA, they all went on a run, but can't change the past, can only change the future. Final stock that I bought in my TFSA was The Planet, which is an MJ stock. Small moonshot position for me. I was essentially banking on the upcoming Florida Amendment 3 vote, which happened now in the past, and the result of it was that the bill was not passed and it is not legalized yet, but I think the company still has a bright future, so I'm going to hold on to it. Very small position. If it goes to 0, not a big deal. And finally, I'm going to look at the RRSP buys. So one thing to call out, before I did purchase in my RRSP, I did kind of think to myself, hey, in 2022 and 2023, I bought heavily in September only to see the market drop in October. The easy thing to do is I knew I wanted to buy US listed, so I initiated Norberts Gambit. I'll link an article to what that is in the video description. Essentially what it is it is a way to save on the typically 1.5% currency transaction fee, and it only makes sense if you are transferring over a certain amount of money. You buy a Canadian listed stock, you journal over to the US version, takes a couple days, and then you sell that, and boom, Canadian to US. One reason I decided not to hold off outside of those 2 days is the Fear and Greed Index. In 2022 and 2023, we were more in the extreme fear to neutral. I think extreme fear was in 2022, and we were more fear neutral in 2023. This year, we're sitting heavily into the greed part, and I think there's a lot of upside still in the US market. So I stuck to my guns, which is DCA, dollar cost average, and said to myself, the old adage, time in the market beats timing the market. So I ended up buying VTI. And that was the only purchase in my RSP this month. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe for future videos such as stocks I bought in October of 2024 coming soon.